Welcome to another edition of the 2020 Citrix Design Vlogs. I am delighted to see you join us for this 5-part video series. In this series, Palak Desai, our Director of User Research, and Michelle Chin, our Product Design Manager, will share insights on the research and design from our labs. They'll cover topics like productivity and engagement challenges for our employees. They'll share a practical guide on design thinking, and for our developers, a guide to creating the most value for Microapps. Now, Citrix has invested heavily in user research and design. We have global labs with world-class designers and researchers working with our development teams. So first, I'm going to share a little about our research practice here at Citrix. Now, early on in product development, our researchers deliver generative research. This is to build a deeper understanding of the personas and the problem. They investigate early stage ideas and use rapid prototyping to articulate that foundational product experience. This is all part of the discovery phase in product development. Then we have the formative research, which includes evaluating the later stage solutions and measuring the impact of the solutions. And now our teams have doubled down on summative research, which really focuses on measurement and adoption. We are now asking the tough questions. Are our users actively using a particular feature? Is our solution still of value? Are our customers satisfied with the experience? And how do our designs compare to the previous solutions? This is what keeps our design practice at Citrix user-centered and data-driven. Globally, we are all going through this moment of declutter. Today, our users don't want more. Our users want meaningful, high-quality experiences. At Citrix, our design team is very mindful of the experiences that we prioritize to add to our products. And once we commit, we obsessively iterate to deliver the best, simplest design. So the ethic in our design labs is less and obsess. In the software world today, we are all designers. Regardless of our role as PMs or developers, we are all constantly designing and shaping the product experience. Our designers and researchers at Citrix are integrated into the safe development practice. We're constantly delivering tools and best practices and running workshops to align our teams to deliver the best-in-class experience. Over the decades, I'd say the design has gone from being defined as talent to being defined as a practice to now being defined as culture. At Citrix, we are focused on building a design-first culture of curiosity that is at the heart of product innovation. Every day, Citrix enables remote work. In order to continue delivering the best user-focused experience, we need to continue deepening our understanding of productivity and user engagement. So let's turn over to Palak Desai, our Director of Research, for more on this. Thank you for joining me today. Stay safe and good luck.
Hi, my name is Palak Desai. I'm the Director of Product Design Research. In order to design a better experience, we need to understand the productivity and engagement challenges employees face today. It's actually called the productivity paradox. This is when technology meant to be helpful ends up hindering our productivity and engagement. Let's face it, we all struggle with technology sometimes. And here's the top 4 reasons why. First, we have too many choices when it comes to tools. While technology is meant to make things better, more efficient, and easier, these tools can be complex and create a lot of noise. These tools are also just too hard for the average employee. Second, there's way too much searching. We spend almost 2 hours a day searching for answers. That's about 10 hours a week, or about 20% of our time. The data that we're looking for isn't well organized sometimes. So we end up searching for information, and that can be time-consuming and extremely frustrating. Third is that we also contextually switch too much. We change topic areas and tools continuously throughout our day. This really leads to incomplete tasks. Actually, the biggest culprit of the productivity paradox is interruptions and multitasking. Things like email, tweets, text, or even phone calls. Even though this might sound like it's not a big deal, it really does decrease our productivity and engagement. And the fourth challenge is really thinking about collaboration, particularly with remote or distributed teams. Working from home is a huge challenge that we all face today, and it can be really hard, especially when you think about communicating with other employees, keeping engaged or feeling like you're really part of the team, maintaining that alignment or having that right visibility on what's going on. And these issues are really compounded when you think about the technology we use and it doesn't work right, or if the technology fails to deliver the experience we need to really feel productive and engaged. But the thing is, just knowing about these productivity and engagement challenges doesn't really solve for them. We really have to understand how both our companies and we as employees define productivity and engagement to really build those meaningful solutions. And that's what we'll talk about next. Previously, we talked about productivity and engagement challenges. Now let's talk about how employees define their productivity and engagement success and how we can really solve for them. Technically, the definition of productivity is the input and output ratio of our work. So for example, a developer's actual productivity might be 1 hour of work to produce 100 lines of code. But in reality, how productive we are is really driven by two things: how productive we feel and whether we achieve the goals we set out for ourselves. Nurses, for example, might define productivity by their quality of patient care, while an attorney might define productivity by the number of clients billed in each week. On the other hand, the definition of engagement can vary a bit. We often define engagement through drivers and outcomes rather than the engagement itself. So for example, drivers for employees may be having meaningful work, feeling empowered, having autonomy, selecting the technology they want, finding a work-life balance, or even being part of a community. As a result of these drivers, the outcome for a company may be better retention, more effort from employees, or employee advocacy. As it turns out, engagement really drives productivity. As a developer, partner, ISV, administrator, or other collaborator with Citrix, productivity and engagement are really the heart of the employee experience. This dynamic balance must be accounted for in the design and technology solutions we develop. Join us next for Citrix Product Design Manager Michelle Chin as she explores real-world examples and shares lessons on how to use the design thinking approach.
Hi, I'm Michelle Chin, Product Design Manager here at Citrix. In the last video, Palak talked about the productivity and engagement challenges that employees face today. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can solve for those challenges using a method called design thinking. When trying to address some of these challenges, it's important that you're solving for a problem that exists. When you address employee pain points, the more valuable they'll find the solution and the more often they'll use it. And sometimes these challenges aren't as obvious. For example, a system might be difficult to use or slow, and people are just used to these poor experiences, but that doesn't mean they couldn't benefit from an iterative solution or an improved solution. Identifying a problem is the first step in the design thinking process. So design thinking is a method used for creative problem solving, and it consists of 5 phases: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. In empathize, we're looking to understand who's using the system. We want to know, what success looks like to them and what kind of pain points stand in their way and challenge them. When we understand this, we can get a better idea of some potential solutions for them. In the defining phase, we're taking a look at our observations and understanding and information to try to figure out what the problem is. And this is typically called the problem statement. In the next phase, ideate, we'll take the problem statement and generate some potential solutions to figure out how we can solve that. Typically, we try to brainstorm as many solutions as possible. The more we can brainstorm, the better. So in the prototype phase, once we've ideated a couple solutions, we'll take some of those and create prototypes. They can be anything from rough sketches to mock-ups or any other lightweight creation that represents the solution. Finally, we test the prototypes in the test phase. And here we're trying to see how well our solution resonates with people. For example, are they able to complete their task? And if not, we want to know why. And we might see if there's other ways we can improve our solution, or we might go back to the ideate phase and pick another solution and try that one. We'll keep trying solutions until we feel confident in providing a right solution for people. So we can use design thinking as an approach to solve any problem, and it's not just for designers. But keep in mind that while design thinking might be a great starting point to create a solution, the real end goal is making sure that you're providing a great employee experience. When it comes to productivity and engagement, sometimes the user's needs are met, not when we're enabling them to do more, but when we're enabling them to do less more often. In our next video, we'll show you how we use design thinking to create microapps to address some of these productivity engagement challenges. So before we apply design thinking to creating microapps, let's first talk about what a microapp really is. So a microapp is a mini application that allows employees to complete very simple tasks within Workspace. So simple tasks might be something like submitting a time off request or approving an expense report. Any small task that can be done typically in their normal enterprise application. So the benefit of microapps are they have a very concise focus, and this allows employees to be more productive and complete their tasks efficiently. So applying design thinking is a great checklist to create a meaningful microapp. Let's walk through a case study where we use design thinking to solve a pain point for our managers. So first we empathized and understood some of the pain points that our managers were facing. When we understood that, we could then start thinking about some potential microapp solutions. And in this case, when we interviewed our managers, we found that completing some tasks in our existing HR management system often proved challenging and difficult. So based on observations, we narrowed the problem and identified the manager's needs. And then from there, we defined the goal of the microapp, its flow, and the critical pieces of information that's needed by the manager. So in this case, our goal was to make it easier for managers to approve time off requests. And when it came to the flow, we figured that the manager would get a notification that there is a new request to approve, and they can view some details and then choose whether or not to approve or deny the request. When it came to the critical information needed, we realized that there's a couple basic things: the employee's name, the dates requested, the time off balance, and so on. So after defining the microapp goal, we decided to ideate, and that's when we start designing the microapp. We did this using pen and paper, but this could easily be done on a whiteboard, a text editor tool, or a design tool. From there, we identified the components we needed and figured out where to lay them out on the microapp. So in the prototype phase, we created a prototype of the microapp using the microapp builder, and we leveraged any designs from the ideate phase. We added components and then hooked up some of the dynamic components to the HR management system. And this prototype served as our proof of concept. So finally, we tested the microapp with our managers. We wanted to see if they could easily approve time off requests. When they struggled, we went to see why that might be and what potential opportunities for improvement we had. We would iterate some small tweaks and eventually land at a great microapp solution. Because we've used a design thinking process and kept the employee in mind, we're able to create a solid solution early on that only needs minimal tweaks in the end. So there are a few challenges to keep in mind when creating a microapp. The first one is it's very easy to want to put too much information in a microapp. So keep in mind that you want to make sure that you're only providing the absolute necessary information that's needed to complete the task for the microapp. So another challenge is understanding what's available from the source application. Sometimes the APIs might not be readily available, and while your microapp might be a great idea, the practicality of implementing it might be challenging. And if that's the case, try to see if you can brainstorm some workarounds that still benefit the employee. So some solutions might not seem like they're providing any upfront value, but keep in mind how having a microapp solution might keep an employee in workspace where all their work is getting done in one place and they can be productive. For more details on how to leverage best practices for each of these phases, please check out our Microapp Design Guidelines ebook. So by engaging with the design thinking process, we're empowered to make people-focused microapps that address people's productivity and engagement challenges. To find out what the most valuable microapps are, stay with us for the next video in our series. So ultimately, microapps are a great way to solve for the productivity and engagement challenges that employees face today. And it's important to not just get the functional aspect of the microapp, but really to make sure they're providing value and humanizing the experience for employees. In our experience of creating microapps, we found that the most valuable microapps tend to address real pain points that employees face. Sometimes they also provide functionality that a source application can't, and they address frequently done tasks, often daily tasks or other frequently used tasks, and that they are providing meaningful, actionable notifications. And lastly, they are simple, concise, and very straightforward. A few final thoughts in this series. The design thinking process is a great tool to have in your toolkit. It's a great way to guide your work and then provide people-focused solutions that your workforce needs. The next time you sit down to create a microapp or another solution, start by asking yourself these questions first. Am I creating a solution for a problem that exists? Is my solution focused on providing value? Am I creating a people-friendly solution? And lastly, have I followed the design thinking process? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, then you're on your way to creating a meaningful employee experience. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see what microapps you create.